Hello everyone! Today's video is going to be my first palette roundup of 2026. This is my January 2026 palette roundup where I show you guys all the palettes I used in the last month. I rank them based off of usage, and then I also show you guys all the palettes, I show you all the looks that I've done, and any video that I have done using this palette actively on my eyes, I will let you know and I will link them all down below for you. And the cat just jumped off the table. Now he's running around. So if you hear anything, that is what that is. In January, I think I did pretty dang good. I did wear makeup 25 days in the month of January. I did get 2 new palettes. So one of them was a purchase and then one of them was friend mail. I will leave my low buy update down below as well. And then I wore 16 individual palettes in the month of January. So those are just some stats so you understand where I'm coming from. And I personally do prefer to use just one palette per day or per look. So I don't like to mix and match my palettes often. I'm going to move you guys over a little bit so I can have my photos up here in the corner so you guys can see them alongside with me. But I have 7 palettes that got used once. So my first palette here is actually one that I did get this month. So it is going to be my little What's Up Beauty duo. If you're new to my channel, anything a duo or larger is considered as a palette. So this is the little Latitude duo. So with this specific look, I just have the matte in the crease. I have the shimmer all over the lid, and then I used an eyeliner I got from What's Up Beauty on the upper lash line. And that's about it. So this is a really simple and easy look that I did, and this was just a free gift with purchase, so it was really nice to use it. The next palette that got used once is this Sorceress Smoke palette from Unearthly. I love this palette so much, and this look is like a grungy, warm green sort of vibe, and unfortunately this is one of those looks that miss the Instagram. Because when I try and find all of the looks that I have done using these palettes, I go through my Instagram. And if I can't find them on Instagram, then I know I didn't upload them to Instagram. So this one is one that I uploaded just the other day because I neglected to do it in January. But this is such a beautiful, everyday neutral palette. I can easily wear this, all day, every day. I mentioned this Tarte palette in my eyeshadow palette tag, and I just remembered I really just need to bring this out again. It is my Tarte Reflections, but the inside of the packaging is really pretty. It's these neutrals and pinks and purples and some warmer tones, and my dog, if you can hear him clicky clacking in the background, that's him. But this is just a really beautiful pink look, and I do a lot of pink looks. Today I'm wearing a pinky look. You're gonna see, especially in February, next palette roundup, you're gonna see a lot of pink looks, but I really enjoy the look that I have on today. But this is a beautiful pink look. I love Tarte and Tarte's formula. Another pink look, who is shocked? I really wanted to use some of the pinky purpley shades in my Mocha Moment palette from Gourmand Girls. So I used this once during the month, and I used some of those purpley cranberry shades. Pretty certain I used this gold purple shifting shade all over the lid. This was a really pretty look. I have really enjoyed the looks that I've gotten out of this palette, and I'm very glad that I have this in my collection. I just think this look, especially with the lip, looks really good. You know, I don't want to be tooting my own horn going through all my looks, but there is something about actually really liking the more or less the art that you're doing on your face. It is nice to enjoy the art that you do on a daily or regular basis. My dog and my cat are chasing each other up and down the hallway. So I really hope, and he's meowing, I really hope you can't really hear a whole lot of it. But anyway, and the next palette that only got used once this month, I pulled this out because my friend Violet, her channel name was Violet Tries Panning. I think it's Violet's Vanity now. And hi Jasper for coming and joining. I'll leave her channel link down below. She just got the Michaela Glamlight palette. I've had this for a couple years and I definitely need to get more use out of it. So I did pull it out this month and use it for one look. And of course, January, I'm feeling the the cold vibes. So this is what the palette looks like. Very colorful. It is quite big. And I use some of the blues and stuff. I use some of the blues. I definitely use the shade here. It's like a purpley, silvery shade. I used this all over the lid. That's all I remember. But this is a pretty big palette, and I really enjoyed the look that I made with this palette. And I would love to get a lot more use out of this year. This palette I used in a video. I did a Dupe the Vibes palette for the Singe Beauty something succulent something. I don't know what it was called. Succulent Dew, I think it is called. But I was really inspired by that palette, and I did a whole video where I showed you the two palettes that I kind of duped from, and then I did a look with you all. So I did do a get ready with me part in that video. One of the palettes that I did pull in is my Blend Bunny Surge palette. I guess I can say it over here because I don't have a photo over here. The Surge palette. I did bring this in primarily for the red shade and then the pink shade, which is pretty much the shades I used in the look. I tried to use as many shades that I could in the look, and I really think it's a beautiful look, and a lot of you guys really liked it too. I love the photo. My hair actually looks good. I like all the overall vibes of the photo. Like, I think it's a really nice photo, but I think really the only thing I used out of this palette is the red and the pink. I really want to use this palette a lot more. I can't wait for the summer so I have an excuse, a real excuse to wear a lot of these neons. I did a really pretty purple look. I'm using the Blend Bunny, the Dollhouse palette. So I used this. I used a couple shades. I think I used some of these purples in the purple column. I definitely need to use this one more. And I did use this in conjunction with something else. I also think I used the shade Pretend here, this like pinky shifty shade. Really, really pretty. I like the shimmers in this specific palette quite a bit. And again, I'm very sorry to hear clicky clacks. The Blend Bunny Dollhouse palette is actually the last palette that got used once. And now I have another 7 palettes that I used 2 times. So all these going forward are going to be used twice. My first palette that I used twice is actually my Nomad Pacific Northwest palette. I like this palette a lot. I love this palette so much. And I am so happy I got it. Like, look at the packaging. It is gorgeous. But this first look here is a very neutral look, and I'm using some of these over here. I have this, I believe, all over my lid because that is what that looks like. It's called Coffee Paradise. It is like a coffee brown, but it has these like little specks of like shimmers and things in it, and I think it's really, really pretty. I like the neutral look a lot. And then, of course, you look at this palette, you see all these greens, and Jasper has a lot to say, like always. But I love this green look. It is so good. But I use these greens. I can't remember the variety of greens. But this palette ticks a lot of boxes for me. I love this palette so much. And I thoroughly enjoyed both looks that I did with this palette. This is a palette that is dear to my heart. So this is my Natasha Nona, the My Dream palette. It is such a gorgeous palette. The first look I did with this was very warm, very like everyday appropriate. I really do enjoy the warm toned looks that I make out of this palette. I think the warm tones do look good on me, like the peachier shades and stuff like that. So I definitely use, I think, these 2 peachy shades. I really do love this palette. This look I thought looked very, very nice. And then the second look went downhill. The actual eyeshadow itself, like actual palette, the actual palette itself, I don't think is that bad. And I don't remember the shades that I used either, but the actual shadow wasn't bad. Not a fault to Natasha Nona. It is the blue eyeliner that I have with this look. I did have a blue eyeliner in my Project 10 uses, I do believe, and I used it for this look, and it was extremely dried out, and I already ruined the look, so I had to commit, and then I had to pull out my water-activated eyeliner palette and finish it off. And I hated this look. I hated that I went to work with this look, and it made me so disappointed because if I would have just done my basic black eyeliner, then it would have been a nice look. Next palette I used twice is my Lorac Fairy Tale Forest. This used to be an all-time favorite. I talk about that quite often, and I just really want to get more use out of this year. As you can tell with all the dips and there is pans, like I've gotten a lot of use and love out of this palette. So this specific look is kind of similar to the Unearthly one that I showed you earlier in the video. You know, you got warms and then you do have some green tones, but I did overall really like this look. It was a little bit darker than I was going for. I think I added this green shade to my lower lash line, and I think that, or was it this green shade? There is 2 green shimmers in here. I think I went a little too heavy-handed on my lower lash line, but other than that, like, I really enjoyed the look. It was nice and smoky. And then the other look that I made with this palette is, this is the look I was wearing when I was doing my How I Do Winged Eyeliner tutorial. And I just used 2 shades, and I think those 2 shades were this shimmer, and then I think I just put this on my crease. Very, very light crease shade. I really like the range of depth in here, really light colors to put in your crease, darker shades to put in your crease to deepen things up. Like, that palette has a lot of range, and I think I just look really pretty, although the foundation on my nose is very patchy. And even though I reapplied my concealer before I came on here, all around my nose is like red. Hate this time of year so much, but I really like, you know, fresh face, simple eye, bold wing, have the cute lip on. I really like the look. I love this palette so much, and this is my Lethal Andie palette. I call it my Andie palette because I did get this decluttered to me in friend mail, and this one was originally had by Andie from Makeup in the Mundane. I'll leave their channel link down below. She chose all of these shadows, and I love this palette so much. Amazing job with the color story. This is what it looks like. These are all like individual shadows from the Lethal website. I have Crossroads, Pioneer, Europa, I have no clue, Infinity, Dahlia, Flourish, Heather, Profusion, Unity, Wisteria, Retrograde, and Hexapod. Those are the shades that are in this palette, and Lethal is like practically dead now since they've rebranded. So those shades are most likely not in, they're most likely not in the collection anymore. But there was someone in my comments that asked me what shade I was wearing. We were talking about Lethal eyeshadow, and I couldn't remember what, because there's quite a bit of pinky purpleness in here. I couldn't remember what shades were in this palette. I said all the shade names, so if you were that person in the comments asking me what shade I was wearing, those are the shades that are in this palette. But this first look is a grungy green and purple. Used both sides of the palette. Usually I use one or the other, but I really want to do something fun. I really wanted to conjoin them both together. Amazing, amazing look. I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was this one, I think. It was this purple look. I really stayed over on this end of things. I love how bright the shimmers are. I love how blendable the mattes are in this palette. But I'm really, really impressed and happy that I have this palette. The other Lethal palette I had, it was just like not doing it for me. The color story was not very good. Wasn't doing it for me. But I love that palette so much. Next palette that got used twice was Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland. We had a couple winter snowstorms, so I pulled these out. This first look here, I thought this look was beautiful. I did. Again, give yourself credit where credit is due, because this look is beautiful, and I am very, very happy and proud of this look. Sometimes you gotta toot your own horn. But I did like an angled thing, and I did some white eyeliner to make little snowflakes. I don't really remember the shades that I used, but this is the palette. Like, this is blues, purples. You have a little bit more of a greeny row, but honestly, when you just put it on your eyes, it just looks blue. But in comparison to these other colors, they look green. My second look I did in a palette bingo. So I randomized 5 shades, and I did a different sort of eye shape to my eyeshadow. So many of you guys loved the eye shape, really encouraged me on Instagram, and that made me so incredibly happy because I was so Like, I'm looking at it right now. Like, I was so uncertain about that eyeshadow. And the things that I create and the things that I do when I just have the free range to just sit here and play with my makeup, perfection. I mean, this type of look is nice too, but it is significantly more boring when I'm on a time crunch to go to work. But the look I created in that palette bingo, my winter palette bingo, unmatched. Really did enjoy that one. Used my Sugar and Grunge palette from Blend Money, now called Sugar and Spite. I used this with the, what is it called? The Dollhouse palette to do that purple look, and I think I used the grays. I tend not to use the grays in this palette, but these grays do exist in my collection. I want to get some use out of it. So it's more of a cooler toned purple vibe. And then I also use this palette for that Throwback Thursday video. And actually, most of the colors came from this palette. So this was a very, very strong, apparent comparison to the Singed palette. And in my opinion, if you already have this palette, you have the same sort of color scheme, you have the same vibes, like you really don't need the Singed palette. So if you already have this, you don't really need it. But I love this palette, and I certainly was going to use it twice this month. I ranked all the palettes that I have tried in 2025, and Secret Garden from Bella Beauté Bar came in #1. So of course I had to bring it out and use it a little bit in January, reminisce on the palette. I love this palette so much. And then I've already used it in February, so you will be seeing this again. But this is a stunning palette. I love this thing. You know, my colors are in here. Love, love, love. With my first look, I actually did a Throwback Thursday with this palette. It is an older palette. It's no longer, I think, on the website, or it's currently sold out. I don't think it's getting restocked. I'm sorry. And then my next look with this, so my friend here, DW, again, she also is starting to get back into the YouTube thing, and I got these little flakies like all over my palette, which is my only like complaint, is like some of the Bella Beauté Bar shades are a little bit too chunky for my liking, so they kind of get all over my palette. Clean that off a little bit. But my friend DW from Dove's Beauty Diary, she was like, I don't know how you like use this palette and don't use Oasis like every single time. Oasis is this shade that like was all over my palette. It is like a green to blue shifty shade. So I did a YouTube short / Instagram reel or whatever, short form content using this palette. And I did this specific look. I did a pink and a green, and of course I used Oasis on most of my lid. And then I added some little dots. Then I did a little heart. Like, I think this look was really, really cute. And I'm so glad that I made it. I mean, it would have been cute regardless of the little accents and stuff, but I think it's precious. And that was for you, DW. I used Oasis. Secret Garden was the last palette I used twice. Now, I have 2 palettes that each got used 3 times. So this one I got in friend mail. Again, I will leave my like low buy update down below. So I did get the Andie Rain Cold Moon palette from friend mail. And because we are in winter, I wanted to get a lot of use out of this while I still felt like I could. Like, once spring comes around, like, I'm not going to really pull this out. I tell myself I am not a seasonal makeup wearer because, like, there is some really pretty springy tones in here. But in the long run, I'm not going to pull this out when I have, like, my pastel palettes. I'm not reaching for my pastel palettes right now. I'm going to reach for them in, like, April and May. So I tell myself I am not a seasonal makeup wearer, but I am. And I need to just let myself do that. I need to let myself be a seasonal makeup wearer and embrace it. I need to just embrace the fact that I am one of those people. My goal with this palette was to create some very diverse looks. So this first look here, I delved right into those grays. And gray scares me for the most part, but I really enjoyed this look, and I definitely wanted to use this shade. So it looks like blue and all sorts of colors. Thing with Andie Rain and a lot of these other indie brands that have these like ultra shifty shades, like Like, looking at it like this, I see so many different colors. And then I have to like swatch them out to be like, what the heck even are you? Because I don't know how to make a cohesive look unless I swatch them out. So I definitely used these grays, and then I used this shade here all over the lid. I thought this look was really pretty, and then I used purple eyeliner on my lower lash line. Really thought this was nice. I'm trying to go the gamut of this palette. The next look was a pink look. Looking at this palette, do you think that I got this look from this palette? Because I did. I used, I think, this entire row in this brown shade, or was it this brown shade? I think it was this brown shade. I do on my Instagram showcase the palette I use and then the shades that I used to make the look. So if you're ever interested in what I actually used, I do have them all on my Instagram. But I did use this entire palette for this entire pink look. I love pink. It's one of my favorite colors to wear. And I'm very glad I got a pink look out of this palette because I was super impressed with that. And then this look here I wore on the last day of January, and I needed to renew my license photo. There is not a light brown transition shade. So what I did is I used Snow Crystal, which is Snow Crystal in a brown shade, okay. And then Aurora here. I mixed those two together to do a blending shade in the crease, and then I used this shade on its own because it's kind of a warmer brown, especially in comparison to some of the other stuff in the palette. So I used that on the outer corner to deepen up. And then I think I used Cold Moon here, which is probably one of my favorite shades in the palette. I used that all over the lid. It was very brightening. It's like a silver, like a champagne-y silver. Some of my favorite sorts of colors to wear. And this is the look that I wore to renew my license photo. And I love this look. I got 3 very different looks out of this palette. I am super impressed. I will continue to use this into February, and probably after February, I'll let it sit in my collection for a while because I'll be wanting to use all my other stuff. I will be having a video up as like an update to my chopping block series, but my last palette in the video and my last palette that got used 3 times this month was my BH Blueberry Muffin. I figured out of all the palettes that are in my chopping block, this one would be the one to use in this time of year. And BH Blueberry Muffin hasn't been used in my collection in a very long time, and I just wanted to bring it out. I wanted to give it some more love so then I can make an update on the chopping block series. This palette looks scary, but in reality, I would say about 1/3 of it is a blue. 1/3 of it is blue. The 2/3 of it are very everyday, natural, easy colors. And I try to not, I try to dabble around the entire palette. I didn't want to hyper focus on one sort of look. Like, you can do so much with these palettes. Like, they do give you some safe options. I love the tones of this palette. I love the shades that I used. These are the types of tones, these shimmer shades that are in here. Those are the types of colors that I love to wear. I do want to do one more look with this palette, and then I'll do my update, but I did do 3 looks. 2 of them were extremely basic, extremely neutral, and the one was like punch in your face blue. But overall, I really enjoyed the looks I did this month. I really don't have much to complain about except for that one with the blue eyeliner. The blue eyeliner wasn't the best choice, but it is what it is. But January, I think, was a very successful month. I did use quite a lot of palettes. I gave my collection a lot of love. And I like when I am able to show me applying makeup, and I did do quite a bit of those videos in January. So I did a Can I Dupe It with a Get Ready With Me, I did Palette Bingo, and I did Throwback Thursday. I really do want to do more Get Ready With Me's on my channel. I want to be able to show you how I do my makeup and talk with you guys and do all the things. I really do enjoy doing those videos. So I really want to do more of those in the future. So in January, as my final little wrap up, I wore makeup 25 out of the 31 days. I wore 16 different palettes. 2 of them were new to me. So it was that Cold Moon palette from Friend Mail, and then my What's Up Beauty Longitude Duo. That one was a free gift with purchase with my What's Up Beauty order. I will leave any and all videos I talked about down below. Any of all people that I talked about, I'll link down below. Highly recommend you check out all the channels and all the videos because I put them down there for a reason. I have just been dabbling into doing affiliate links in my description box, and with the amount of palettes that I am showing in these videos and how many of them are discontinued, I feel like it is not justified to make and spend the time doing the links, to be honest with you. I'm not a link pusher whatsoever, but in these videos I'm going to decide not to link all the palettes because more often than not they're discontinued. But I do have codes with Nomad and I do have a code with Bella B Tabar. So if you feel inclined to support the channel, those are two options there. But link wise, I'm not going to put anything down below. I don't want to stress myself out too much. It was stressful doing the description box for my low buy update. That was a lot of links and that spent quite a bit of time. But I'm really trying to expand my YouTube and I was recommended to do it. So I've been throwing them down there and some of you guys click on them actually. I do get little updates on my weekly snapshot of how many people actually click on stuff. And you know, that's really fun to see that people actually click on them. I just put them down there, and if you open the description box and see them, you see them. If you don't, you don't. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But I do appreciate you guys, any support that you guys do down there in the description box. Very much appreciated. And I would appreciate it even more if you subscribed. It's free. If you like it, also free. If you hype the video, guess what? Free. And let me know down below your favorite look. Guess what? Commenting is free. Comment down below, like, share, hype, all the things. Comment down below your favorite look. What was your favorite palette? I have a lot of favorite looks this month. I can't really choose one. But I love and appreciate you guys all so much. You guys mean the world to me. And I shall see you guys next time.